And you've just heard Wild Light, which is taken from the Mary Collins album Very Sparrow. And I'm delighted to be joined now by the man behind it, Jack Mellin. Hello, Jack.
Hello, how's it going?
Really good. The Mary column itself, why did you choose that name for the project as a whole?
That actually comes, it's like from really long time ago. I was like, I think I was probably 14 or around that age, and I was reading some Kafka,
Right.
and it's from a Kafka story basically, where in my interpretation, he sees the Mary column in Munich, I think, which is
Right.
a statue, but he compares it to the moon, and it's just this sort of mixing of what he's confusion of what he's seen with the moon and this column. And it's just, I think it's like a really nice passage, and again, just the name kind of, I like the sound of it.
14 years old is the kind of ultimate time for Kafka to really hit hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Really good at
Yeah,
changing your worldview.
yeah, yeah. It was big. It was big.
So
Yeah, it's amazing stuff.
tell us about the Mary column and what's inspired it, because it's kind of a solo. I know there are other people involved, but it's a kind of
Yeah.
solo project.
So I guess it kind of, I mean, it's over the years it's changed a bit. For a while, I was doing the Mary column was like, so I was just playing solo and doing like, so quite a lot of that was like improvised or instrumental guitar stuff. And then, yeah, basically with this album, I was in a band called Spinning Coin for quite a few years. And then in 2020, that stopped because of the pandemic and various things. And some of the songs that I would have been working on for the next Spinning Coin record, me and the drummer just were working on them, and then it kind of developed into, oh, it's not going to be Spinning Coin, we should just do our own record. And yeah, basically that's it. It started off as potentially songs for Spinning Coin, and then realised we'd just do our own thing.
Am I right? I might be misremembering this, but did the Spinning Coin album come out just before COVID really broke? Is that right?
Yeah, it was February 2020, so we
Yeah.
were on tour when the news of all that was coming through, and like cancelled the tour after, I don't know, 5 gigs or something. Yeah, it was obviously a strange time.
Yeah. I remember
A
that because
bad time to
it's an
release an
album
album.
I still play to this day and really love. But it was in my head that you were out. That's right. That you were touring it. So,
Yeah.
how did you approach making Very Sparrow? How did you approach making this album? In the same way as Spinning Coin, or was
Yeah.
it a process?
Well, just different in the fact it was just two of us. So it's me and the drummer from Spinning Coin, Chris White, and we just kind of met in our practice space and practiced the songs and worked on the songs, and then decided Chris was going to record them. He's got a good recording set up and has done quite a lot of recordings in the past. So we just started to record the songs, and I think initially the first, when it was still potentially for Spinning Coin, we kind of, because we're just in the practice space recording digital, we you get kind of carried away with how many takes you can do and stuff.
Right.
It's just infinite time and space to do stuff. So I think after, I'm not totally sure the timeline, after a few months maybe of trying to do that, we were like, all right, we need to make some rules for ourselves. So once we started, we were kind of like, it's like 3 takes is the most you can do of anything, and ideally do less than that. And we did stick to that. I'm quite proud that we managed to stick to that. Just try and keep it fresh, because the way we're recording it is quite artificial. I played the bass and the other instruments. Chris played the drums, and then I did guitar and vocals. So to try and get more of a live sound or more of a vibrancy or something like that, we just limited ourselves to how much we could record. So it was recorded over quite a long time period, but probably if you broke it down to hours, it wouldn't actually be very long. There's quite a lot of first takes and stuff on there.
I was talking to a band fairly recently, and they said their producer had this idea of 3 and done. Give it 3 goes and then move on to the next thing. And I think partly to kind of keep that idea of a live sound. So if you go and see them live, or maybe it's the same for you guys, if you go and see you live, it's similar to what's on the album.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to keep it. I think keep it fresh. I mean, everyone's different. I guess some people get better with loads of takes, but for me, after three, I need to move on to something else. I don't know. It doesn't seem to get better, and yeah, it's just keeping that attitude. It's like if you were recording live onto tape with a band. If the drums are really good, the bass is really good, the guitar is really good, but there's one tiny bit that you might need to live with, because to use the best take is to try and kind of keep that energy there a bit, because you could just go on forever. And also with digital, I don't want to listen to 10 guitar solos that I've done. Like, I genuinely don't. It's just kind of impossible to decide and make me go insane. So just, if the first one was good, go with that.
And I guess that is a danger, is that you just don't let something go. You tinker and you tinker because you can.
Yeah, exactly. So trying to avoid that. I think we did a good job of it, because it's so easy to slide back into just go back to try it again, but kept it fresh. We are also quite limited with time, just because we're busy and stuff as well. Chris has had 2 children since we've been making this album, so we were limited in that way as well, which is kind of a good thing, I think, really.
And I know you've mentioned Spinning Coin and you've worked with other people. Are there other people apart from yourself and Chris involved in this album?
So it's really it's Rachel who's also in Spinning Coin, sings on 2 tracks, I think, and Simone Wilson sings on maybe 5 or 6 tracks. Other than that, it's just me and Chris.
And you mentioned, I mentioned playing live. Have you played these tracks live? Have you done gigs yet?
Yeah, we've done 5 gigs. The last one was the album launch in Glasgow. I'm playing solo. I'm going to play some of these songs solo in Edinburgh on Thursday. And yeah, we'll try and book some more gigs. Probably maybe try and tour later in the year. But we'll just see how it goes, really. And
what can people expect if they come to see a Mary Column gig?
I don't know. People have said it sounds very like the record, which I think could be a good and a bad thing. But I think with this type of music, it's kind of just we're sort of saying, try to keep the freshness. There's no reason why it wouldn't sound too much like the record. There is differences in there. The solos are not the same and stuff, but yeah, we just play the songs.
When you play live, anyway, is it a kind of freedom that if someone makes a mistake, you just kind of, well, that's the thing. It might not even be a mistake. Yeah. It's playing something differently and go with it.
Yeah, totally. It's just, I think definitely with this band, I don't know, maybe it's like a variety of reasons, but we want to have fun, you know. There's no pressure. If there's a mistake, whatever, it's life.
Yeah.
You know, there's not high stakes or anything. The main thing is to have fun. And we've got Simone in the live band and Sephi as well, and occasionally Rob playing some keyboards on a couple of songs actually. So it's all friends playing together. You know, we're just trying to have a nice time. It's the main thing.
And are there particular influences that you had in mind for this record? You know, either other albums that you wanted songs to sound like?
Yeah, I always find that quite hard question, because I mean, a lot of the music I listen to is not that similar to what we've made in a way. I mean, influences. I don't know. I guess it would, for this sort of stuff, I would go back to my formative influences as a teenager or whatever, and that would be definitely Nirvana is like a huge thing for me. And then people like PJ Harvey, I really love and have followed for a long time. I think everything they make is really interesting and cool. You know, Jeff Buckley.
Yeah. I think it's interesting saying Nirvana, because I actually think an album that you could perhaps compare it to would be Unplugged, when Nirvana songs broke down in that sense.
Yeah.
Which is a really great way of hearing these songs.
Nice. I mean, that's a crazy compliment, but we can't be compared to Nirvana too much, but yeah, it's not as rock.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bit softer than most Nirvana stuff. Yeah, but that's the kind of stuff that I guess I would be thinking about with this. Big Star.
Yeah.
More modern stuff, I would say. Like, I really love Aldous Harding.
Right.
But I don't think this really sounds much like that. But it's an inspiration anyway.
I guess that's the difference between kind of influences perhaps and inspirations, is that
Yeah.
the inspirations can come from anywhere. It doesn't necessarily feed recognisably into the music.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the thing. It's just like, I feel at this point with these types of songs, it's they just happen the way they happen. Like, I'm not trying to control it too much or be too specific. It's just when I write a song like that, it's kind of like, just because I've been playing about for a while and then I'm like, oh, I like that part, I'll work on that. I'm not really thinking, oh, we should do a song that's heavy or a song that's like this or like that. It kind of just happens. So you can't, almost feel like I can't control too much what it sounds like in a way.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to. I want to just let it be. So it's just a total amalgamation of many years of listening to music.
And
music.
Just the two of you kind of involved, has that meant a different kind of working process in that there's not as many voices perhaps, given a point of view?
Yeah, I think definitely it was it was, I mean, to work, I like collaborating a lot with people, but that was like quite a clear difference. Was it's like one songwriter, Chris was playing drums and producing and recording it, and I was kind of allowed to do whatever I felt like on the top. So yeah, there was, I think it was just kind of quite free to just see what we felt like doing on it. And only two of us to decide whether it was good or not. So.
And you mentioned that the band name came from Kafka short story. Are there other non-musical influences on your stuff? Is there other, things that you think, that's really played a part in kind of shaping me?
I mean, it's hard to say. I feel like that sort of question would be easier when I was a bit younger. I don't know anymore. But I mean, yeah, I love films and books as well.
But I guess, you mentioned at the age you kind of were reading the Kafka story and you come up with the name. Did you think, when I have a project that is my project, that is the name? Was that something that you thought of?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. That was the idea. I think it's also just really hard to come up with a name. I did find it pretty difficult. So I think it's just anything that I think sounded good, I was like, hold on to that. But yeah, that was the idea. I mean, I thought it would be a solo project and stuff like that. And yeah, I've gone through various ideas with that name and ways of thinking about it over the years.
So is it really just, it might change in the future, it's a home for your solo work, really?
Yeah. Well, how I think of it, I suppose, is I wanted to actually separate it from solo, as in literally playing solo, which I also do.
Yeah.
And I have kind of a bunch of like acoustic instrumental songs that I want to work on soon, and I've played some gigs doing that. But yeah, I kind of wanted, with this album, I wanted a clear name for what I would call a pop rock band, basically. It's like songs in that style that are going to be mostly accompanied by a band. And to me, it's pop rock, indie rock, whatever you want to call it. But that's that project. And then I can do other stuff under my own name.
I was going to say, when you play your acoustic gigs, that's under Jack Mellin.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, because it got confused for a while where I was kind of doing both, and it didn't make any sense. So I've tried to sort out my branding, And
now that the album is out and people are listening to it and stuff, how do you reflect on it? Does something being released change the way your relationship with it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think maybe it feels very satisfying. I've got to say, it feels good to get it out. It's been it's taken a little while, as it kind of always does. But I think, yeah, for various reasons, this has taken a little bit longer. But yeah, it just feels like, I don't know, it just feels satisfying to get it out to people.
And finally, before we hear another track from the album, where did the title come from, Very Sparrow?
Well, yeah, it's a bit mysterious. It's a phrase that I heard and I liked, and I wasn't sure what it meant really, but it seemed to fit well with this group of songs. I think just the way it sounds worked for me well, and I like the fact that it's pretty ambiguous and you could make up your own meaning for it, you know.
Ambiguous and enigmatic, I think, is absolutely correct way. Jack, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I'm really enjoying the album. It's a great collection of songs, so it's been good to talk to you about them.
No, thank you so much for having us, and thanks for the support. Really appreciate it a lot.
It's an absolute pleasure. And this is the Mary Column, and Love Could Make You Cry.